make good choices and get out there and live your life to the fullest. That's what we do. So the war stories and all that stuff, save that. You want to talk about the emotional pain behind those war stories, we can do that all day. But we really focus on the positivity of what comes when you're making good, healthy choices for you and your loved ones. A couple announcements. We've been talking about our 17th annual upcoming 5K on October 28th. There's already 623 people that signed up for that. It's unreal. Very cool. I do want to, Childers Limousine Service is going to be a big supporter of our event this year. They're going to be transporting people with parking issues and stuff because there's probably going to be 2,000 people out there this year, which is going to be really cool. So October 28th, come on out and be a part of that. Saturday, the building will be open for football, hanging out, kitchen's there if you want to cook, make something to eat, whatever. So Saturday will be another good night here too. I wrote down a couple topics, and let's do one, I think, that could cover both sides of families and us as the addicted ones or the former addicted ones, however you want to word that. But how good does it feel to overcome adversity? I'm thinking of Kim and what you talked about, and when I listened to the gut-wrenching agony you're going through, I'm thinking the whole time, God, that is awful, and yet there's another side. And the other side is when you overcome whatever it is you're dealing with and you don't use, it feels electric. So I want to focus on that, and that's even applicable to family members. As Rick said, you'll never recover from a loss. I believe you can learn how to effectively cope with an unfortunate ultimate loss or a current horrific situation you're going through. I don't know what that's like. I won't pretend that I do. But I also know that through support, caring people, education, and when you put that into some effort, I believe healing can somewhat take place. I didn't say cure, I didn't say get over, I didn't say move on because that's insensitive. I'm saying you can learn to cope and heal a little bit better than maybe you were yesterday. So let's talk about that. How good does it feel to overcome a struggle when you don't drink? Because we know how crappy it feels when you do drink. And family members, how are you coping, or how do you need help with coping with a struggle you're currently going through? Where at? Go ahead.
Feels great.
Hey, we're done. Okay, we're done. You want to elaborate?
I mean, it's just coming into IOP for months on end. I kind of sarcastically was saying one of your phrases, but when I sarcastically said it out loud all the time, it actually reinforced it, and I use it all the time. Like, whenever we would have a problem and we would tell you about it, you'd be like, but you know what? You don't have to use drugs or alcohol over it. That's right. And it just kind of came this thing that caught fire, like, you know, somebody would ask me how you're doing, and I'll be like, oh, not good, but you know what? And like, me and Jordan did it a lot, working together and stuff. It was like, well, what? Or like something would break, like a tractor or something would be screwed, and they'd be like, what happened? We'd be like, well, it's broke, but you know what the good thing is? What? We don't have to use drugs because it's broke. You know, everybody just kind of laughs about it and stuff, but it's funny, but it works though. Like, saying it out loud is different from saying it into my head all the time. So anytime anything has come up, I've always just said that. People will be like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I feel like shit, but you know what? I don't gotta use drugs because I can just genuinely be sick for once.
Penny, you're up.
What I was trying to say before I got rushed and I got nervous, I've learned from people in my life that have used alcohol and drugs. It's been bad things that I've learned, and I came to this conclusion that if I don't get out of the pity, the self-pity, I'm gonna drown in it. Yeah. So I'm never afraid to say, like, for years I've made mistakes with my son, even my daughter who doesn't use, like, the enabling. Like, I mean, I enabled so bad to the point where I was like mad at that. Why am I mad at them? I'm doing this. I'm allowing them to do everything that they're doing. So I can't be mad at my son for doing what I've said for 20 years. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. No, I'm out of that. So I figured I'm gonna swim to the top, and I've gotten to a point where I love my son. I love my daughter, but you know, I don't have to accept anything that I don't want to. And that's huge for me because I am a people pleaser. And not only do I want to please people, I just wanted to always keep my children happy. And I did it all wrong. And I'm 49, and it's not too late for me to learn. So I've erased all that from my bank, my penny bank, and but I've erased all of that from my self bank and said, I've got to do something different. And I'm doing things differently, I'm reacting differently. I'm not like that crying mess that I was, you know, 3 weeks ago, like literally like a month ago. I've erased it. And my relationship with my son is improving. And it wasn't him. It wasn't all him. It was, a lot of it was me and my reaction to what he did and what he said. So any parent that's starting new with a child that's in recovery, do yourself a favor. Take that stick and draw that line immediately. And you tell yourself, I am not allowing them to get on this side of it, because you will save yourself so much heartache, so much stress, so much pity. You know, you just fall into a very, very bad spot. And it's not a good spot for any parent to be in. So my mistakes put me where I am, not my son's addictions. It's how I reacted to his addiction that really screwed me. And I am done. And he knows I'm done.
I've never heard a parent speak like that in here before. That was pretty good. Wasn't too bad.
That's my penny bank. No, but it's the God's honest truth, and that's the best advice I can give any parent suffering right now. Draw a line.
Kim? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're still Kim,
I
right?
was gonna say that I feel a little guilty, which this sounds stupid to say, but I've had withdrawal symptoms myself, and I've went and got help, and the doctor said, we can't help you, keep drinking. We have no facilities, keep drinking, because you can have seizures. Keep drinking until you can go get help. And I've never personally had a seizure, but, so my son came to my house, him and his girlfriend were arguing, they live in a complex next to us, and he's not allowed to drink at my house. So, in my eyes, that's why he had a seizure, because I don't allow him to drink in my property. And he went without beer, alcohol, whatever, and he went hours and hours on end without. Long story short, he had a seizure because he was not allowed to drink in my presence, and I feel like if I would have allowed him to drink, he would have had that seizure, and now I have guilt.
Wait a minute.
Because technically,
Oh my God. Go ahead.
I know it's stupid, but I've been through this a million times. It's almost like you have to keep it in your body in order.
Wait a second. I love what Tyler said about being teachable.
And I remain teachable, I know that.
Okay. Your son's having a seizure because he's drinking. Not
Well, it's
anything.
withdrawals.
That is not your fault.
I know.
Well, with all due respect, you don't, or you wouldn't be saying that. No parent in here is responsible for what your kid is doing. You didn't cause them to drink. You can't cure them from drinking. Period. You can't. What Penny was talking about. You cannot cure somebody from drinking. 1 second, Sandy. I see your hand. You cannot do that. Nobody causes anybody to drink but ourselves that make a cognizant choice to drink. No debate. That's a fact.
And you taught us that in IOP, and that sticks with me every day.
Let me just say one more thing in this. Listen, all the pain that is caused by drugs and alcohol can be stopped by one simple choice. Stop doing them. Stop. You don't want the pain that comes with drinking and using drugs? Stop doing them. And yes, it is that simple. Is it difficult to sustain that stoppage at times? Yes. Good. I hope it's hard. You'll appreciate not doing it, hence the topic of overcoming adversity. Like Brendan said, it feels awesome to speak the way I'm speaking. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just sharing what I know. I didn't learn that out of a textbook. I learned that out of 13 years of trying to drink and not have problems and always having problems. And then I found, God, if I stop drinking, this stuff's been working for a while. A long while. And I want it to work even longer, so I'm going to keep doing this stuff. Sorry, Kim, you're not causing your son to have a seizure because you're not allowing him to drink in your house.
These doctors are idiots.
He's having a seizure because he's drinking too much and whatever medical things are going on with his body. Seek some medical attention.
Please don't touch me.
Sorry. He just told me to stop touching him. Go ahead.
He makes me laugh every day on that. Thank you, Todd.
I can relate to her situation in a little bit. I've talked about it, I think, once before. I've been through a lot of things in almost 19 years of recovery. I lost my mother, and I was coming here, and in the process, one person told me, why was I fighting so hard? Stop. That's the best thing I've ever heard. Stop fighting it. And we had 3 or 4 wonderful days before she passed away. The hurt's there. It may always be there, but I have moved on. I can't dwell on it anymore. I went through things with my kids through my sobriety. I went through things with Stefan, and those were all recently. I have lost my house. I have lost my freedom. Today I found out I may have lost my car. I got 3 payments to go on it, and it's paid off. But it died on me Monday. I'm still pushing on. I can't sweat it anymore because it's not conducive to my sobriety. I have to push it aside and deal with it at another time when it's better. I felt at first I pushed my kids into drugs, but I have since learned that's choices they made. And Stefan was seeing someone, and he kept telling her, my mom is not stupid. My mom is not stupid. And I looked at him, so like, how long have you been getting high? Things like that. This is what's going through my mind till finally one day we sat down and we talked about it. And some bad things come out of it. But the thing that's most positive, we're coming to meetings again. We're in this room tonight, and we're taking in information that is going to move us forward in a positive direction.
Absolutely.
And I have to keep that in mind. All that other garbage can go in a bag and a can, and I can't anymore.
Izzy. Maria, go ahead.
So what I've learned from my family's addictions is I have 9 siblings and 5 of them are addicts. My brother is my only blood brother sibling, and he passed away 4 years ago next Thursday. But it's to piggyback off of Kim. I got out of the Navy June of 14, and I spent 2 months with my brother, and I hadn't seen him in years, because I took myself away from my family and away from all the drama that came with the drugs. and the very night he overdosed, I was the last person to talk to him. I had canceled our plans for the next day, and I blamed myself for 2 years. It wasn't, no offense, Todd.
Nope.
It wasn't until I met people from Team Recovery and people that were in recovery and addicts themselves that taught me it was not my fault. I didn't stick that needle in my brother's arm. Even if I kept the plans, he would have still used that night. So what you're doing is you are stopping the enabling. You are adding tough love to your son. And that's what I've learned. And how I cope with it is my very first meeting, I ended up sharing that night. And I shared at every other meeting since. I moderated at meetings. I've helped other family members out. I reach out. And that's how I cope with it. But my point is, I actually almost killed myself over thinking it was my fault. And then I finally went to a family group meeting. And that's what saved me. And I've learned so much from family meetings.
Charles?
Yeah, I'm Charles Still. You know, during the introduction, I like to be able to listen to what's been said and just take it in, so-called sponge mode. You know, each day we wake up, we can make a decision on what we want to do that day. Now, I've learned over some 30 years now that each day I wake up and I decide to step back from the tree of life looking before us, to take an account of what I've done, what I did, what I've got to do each day to have a quality of life. Then it becomes real, real simple. This thing called sobriety or recovery is not a rocket scientist. You know, it's all about making a decision, and then even more so important, surrounding yourself with but a few people that are walking in that same direction. You know, there's always somebody out there telling you what you should and couldn't do, but then it comes up to, ultimately to the individual to make that decision. You know, I would commend the mother that drove from Florida. I mean, look, you've come such a long way, and there's a few other steps to take, and truly you're in the right place. I said I come to support this program because I believe in the concept. Generally in other programs, 12 steps and all, most of you in here would be silent. You don't have an opportunity to say what's going on with you. You are the silent sufferers. Anywhere else, you know, no one cures for the most part because everyone's focused on the problem causer. So we feel like we are enablers because we love somebody, we pour our money into them, we give them our time. But what's most important is, you know, again, pushing back from that tree to see the forest. There's avenues to pursue, there's people to reach out to. And I'm going to close with this right here, you know. In this room, there's people that have likes. And if you just, now I'll approach anybody, I'll give a number, I'll take a number, and I'll call during the week. But it doesn't end right here. When we hit that door and go out, that's when it really begins. But here's the source to draw it from. Not costing anybody a dime to be up in here, and that's the beautiful thing about it. I said this before, I'm not a Bible thumper or holy roller, none of that. I believe in me from God, and I believe programs such as this, He's set in place, He's given us time out of the madness of life just to reflect just for a minute, just to pull it in, you know, to unmask, to get real and say what's going on with us, and in a very unjudgmental environment. You know, this is truly a blessing. So if it's somebody that said anything you can relate to, if you've been anywhere, put a coattail before you hit the parking lot and they're gone. You may never see them again. That's why I think it's here. And I think the founder of it is because God inspired, and I don't play with that, you know. This is a God inspired program. No one's got. Go when you go to church, tell your pastor about this, because there's people going through the same things that need to know there is help. right here. Thanks for letting me speak.
Chris?
You know, before I came into recovery, I coped with everything with drugs and alcohol. Good day, bad day, sunny day, rainy day, broken shoelace. It didn't matter. That was the only coping mechanism I had was to get high. So then I come into recovery and find out there's healthier coping mechanisms. There's healthier choices that I can make. And I can get all this information and know all the tools, but until I'm willing to put them into action, nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change. So for me, complete surrender was the key, and surrender is nothing but me quit fighting it. And I heard that from both parents and the recovering addicts. Like when I stop fighting, that's when I start to get better. And the reminders come from all you guys that I get when I come in here. It's like I have living problems today. I don't have a major drug problem anymore. But that's just because I've made choices to put it down. And just like you said, putting it down when I reflect was the easy part. Just keeping it put down and finding a lifestyle. Like recovery's a lifestyle. It's not just something I do for this hour right here. I get it through all you guys for this hour, but I have to go out and apply it in my everyday life. I have to stay mindful that this is killing people. It's killing people every day. And if I don't, you know, I can say drugs are no longer my problem. That's easy to say because it hasn't been a part of my life for 4.5 years. But that's taken a lot of work to get a lifestyle outside of that lifestyle, and I have to be vigilant with that. I can't just come here and hear all this good stuff and check yeah, and then go outside and not change anything. I have to tap into you people that are in this room. Like I have to tap into the people because that's how it works. Us helping each other. I don't know. I'm just the introductions were kind of emotional, so it's like when I hear things like that, I gotta process it, and I don't forget when I couldn't stop drinking and using. Like I just don't forget that pain. I don't forget it. I know, that's why I show up, because I don't forget about that. And I can't forget, I can't afford to forget about that, but I know I never have to do that to myself again.
That's right.
And I know I was placed here, like we were all placed here as vessels to help somebody else get that hope that they never have to enable their child again, and I never have to self-destruct again.
Well said, brother. Carrie?
So I am one of 11 siblings. 3 are addicts. One is like in the closet about his addiction. He won't own up to it, but we all kind of know what's happening, and as a result, our family had to make some hard choices, and his 4 children were taken away, and they're now safely in a home with a family member. The other one has been through a sobriety program, claims to be sober, but was plastered at a family wedding a couple weeks ago, and that's not sobriety. And we have my brother up there, who's been sober almost 1.5 years in a couple weeks. But I think it's really about choices on both sides. There's 3 different people, the same resources and support system offered, and they chose what they were willing to do with that. And like for the family, like Penny was saying, like you have to draw that line. And in every case, our family had to come together as a whole and say enough is enough, we're done. And so I think you just gotta make the right choice and look what's there for you, what's offered to you.
Denise?
I just want to share something with you, Kim. My son has said to me that we caused his pain because we taught him morals, and we taught him about leading a good life, and we didn't prepare him for reality. And for a long time, I felt subject to letting him make me feel like this was my fault. And it took me a long time to realize that this is his fault. And whatever BS your son is feeding you, or you're feeding yourself, that you're responsible. I had to get to the point where I had to heal me. I can't heal him, he has to heal himself. But I can take care of me and heal myself. And maybe if you concentrate on that, my hope is my son sees me concentrating on that, and maybe he'll come to the realization that there's help. I'm sorry for what you're going through.
What's that?
I was just, I don't know, the cross just hit my head was when it comes to like for the parents and stuff like that, just know that like nobody can manipulate you better than your own kid. We were born from you. You have raised us our whole life. It starts at a very young age. Like, I may not be manipulating you, not right now for like, you know, money or nothing like that, but when I'm 5 years old, I'm pretty sure I manipulated you out of a popsicle at some point. And just over the course of, you know, years, you learn those spots, you know, like I was in a house with mother and father were separated after when I was kind of young. So then I learned the tricks for each one to like, you know, you get shoes from this one and you also go over here and get shoes from this one because they don't know that this one got you shoes, you know, and it just like for the right, not necessarily the wrong reasons growing up, you learn how to manipulate people to get what you want. So I feel like I'm 28 years old. I've been clean about a year and a half now, so for the last 26 years I've been manipulating my mother in some way, shape, or form until then. So you can't, well, they'd never do that to me, you know, like there's not much an addict won't do.
Real quick.
One thing I could say I did here recently, when we were going through all the things we went through, is I looked at Stefan one day and I said, you know what? I love you, but I don't have to like what you're doing. And I gave him a big hug and I sent him on his way. Then I had to work with me.
You know, Denise, before we read our closing poem, Denise, you said something that I've never said this in a support group meeting. I think I've told this story a couple times in IOP. When I was going through my self-destructive behavior of making my cognizant choices to keep drinking, I was on a rant one time with my dad and telling him that, you know, my stepmom, which I don't like calling her my stepmom, but she is, but she's my mom. I was blaming her. She could have been a better mom and doing all that crap. And I was on a variety of chemicals that day. My dad looked at me right in the face and said, do you think you could have been a better son? And that sobered my ass up right away. Now this was probably about a little less than a year before I was given the grace of having a third DUI and I stopped drinking. But that hit me like a ton of bricks. I started really looking at myself and going, dude, your life is a mess because of you, and you only. And when I made a cognizant choice to stop self-destructing and started putting some effort into bettering myself with no worry about who thought I could stay sober, who didn't want me to stay sober, none of it. I just got my act together, then I started getting the support. Thankfully, and I was fortunate enough to utilize that support to be where I'm fortunate enough to be today. For some new folks that came in here, I'm going to make this crystal clear, and I think some people that know me very well know why I'm making this statement right now. When Racing for Recovery was formed, a lot of people don't know this. Our support group meeting was formed because people from the traditional format were calling me and asking me if we had something different than what was currently offered. So I didn't copy a format, or I didn't steal a format from somebody else and then call it my own. I filled a void that was being asked by this community. And the void was to create the first of its kind format that has family members and recovering substance abusers in it. We're the first. Let me say that again. The first since 2001. The only first program that's done that. And we're not only first to start this format, we're the first to invest over $30,000 to make it live across the world for free. That's integrity. Just need to get that off my chest. Pardon?
I just want to thank you for making it live. I have a daughter who lives in Philadelphia, and she can join us at these meetings, and then when we leave here, we talk with her, and we share what we've learned.
Hello, Philly. How you doing? All right, who has our closing point?
Autobiography in 5 short chapters by Portia Nelson. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I am in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It takes a long time to get out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. I walk down another street.
Thanks for coming, everyone!